Good morning, everyone. It's Trader Rob. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd. Cash Profit Wednesday. 5% of my profits today are up for grabs. Just type in the word trend into the YouTube chat and you'll be entered to win. We'll do that drawing at 10:45 this morning. All right, so let's just jump into the NQ. NQ had a setup here this morning. Started at 654. We did get a nice push here. Let's see if I can make this a little smaller. We had a nice push right here. 1, 2, 3. We got our retracement bar right here. Fixed volume profile tool told us that our entry would have been right here at the value area low. And you could have targeted the point of control, which would have just gotten hit, or the break of structure sitting up here. I actually looked at this trade a little late. We had already gotten into the entry here. But talk about a nice risk to reward right here. This is 24 points, and to the upside, point of control is 60 points. Break of structure here is 70 points. So this was a really nice risk to reward profile right here. That would have already gotten you out at the point of control sitting right there. So that would have been a really nice setup here early this morning, which I did not capitalize on. So we have a key level sitting here at the 26,901. We did tap into it and we had about a 90-point move off of that key level. Got another key level sitting down here at the 26,775. I got a signal here at the 26,745, targeting the 753 and the 761, and a few key levels sitting above and below it at the 26,734 and the 26,775. Our first piece of unbalanced volume doesn't really come in. This is buyers sitting down here, a lot of volume sitting here at the 26,652 to the 26,596. So that's the NQ for today. On the ES, ES kind of hung around this key level at the 7150, and we have tapped into it several times already here this morning. We have a key level sitting above us at the 7183, and then a cluster of levels sitting at the 7125 and the 7122. Obviously, good volume sitting here for the market to want to come in and tap into it. Similar to the NQ, we've got buyer unbalanced volume sitting at the 7107 to the 7090, and then another key level at the 7085. Gold, we had an absolute, just amazing signal. So if you guys remember from my stream yesterday, and I believe even on Monday, we had a big weekly band sitting right here. I've been talking about this for 2 days now. I said this was going to be very hard for gold to get through it. Came right down, tapped right into that band that I'd given you guys, and we had an absolute rocket ship out of that band. So that was an absolute banger right there. Let's get back to here. And then as far as some current levels, a few that we've already been talking about, but we've got one on gold at the 48.14 to the 47.99, the 48.54 to the 48.29, and the 48.90 to the 48.74. This is a smaller piece of unbalanced volume sitting here at the 47.41 to the 33. And then the bigger volumes again steps up, very similar to the previous band, because you can obviously see how price action just kind of exploded from here. So this is all unbalanced at the 47.05 to the 46.88 and the 83 to the 64. So that is gold, ES, and the NQ. Now, looks like we did get a drop here early in the morning. Let's see. Okay, so we've got all of our levels sitting up here. So we're going to have to wait to see if we get a retracement back to the upside here. And again, very nice risk profile here. So we've got about 14 points. The only issue with being such a great risk to reward is that you really don't have much of a stop loss here, but I have no issues risking 14 points here to come right back down to the value area low, which can give us about 40 points. So I like that profile there a lot. But we'll see what the market wants to do here. So it looks like we've been getting some headlines coming out of Iran talks. Iran talks possible as soon as Friday. Okay. Again, risk on this trade here, the early morning one was 15 points, targeting 32 points right back down to the value area low. This is my AVT strategy in effect here. And again, as this is a pretty small stop loss right here, you know, if we do end up ripping through this stop here, you know, like I say every day, it's really not a big deal. At that point, we would look for the continuation model to the upside, follow the mini trend, and see what our next opportunity could be. And again, keyword for this morning is for Cash Profit Wednesday is trend. 5% of session profits will be given away at the 10:45 Central Time. And then some things to look out for on Bookmap. Level 2. We've got the 7165 with a good amount of volume, and we've got the 7160 with a good amount of volume to the upside. And then for the NQ, it's kind of light. You know, the 26855s, nothing really crazy here. It's pretty light on the NQ side in general. So again, on this, we break down from here. If we break structure down to this, you know, past this pivot low here, then we will cancel this order out and we'll look for the next setup here in the market. Morgan, I would just say that the 30 delta flip, like in all scenarios, can obviously give you a phenomenal entry with a great risk to reward, but you're going to get definitely some more fake signals there on the 30 than you would at least on the 60. There's enough points in here on these typical trades to warrant probably a 60 range entry confirmation flip. Now, one strategy that you can employ that isn't terrible, I've actually thought about this one in the past, is that, you know, you can have a rule, and this could be your own trading rule, where if you've got, you know, like we've got a top, we got a really tight stop here, okay? Because this would be our entry right here, and this would be our stop loss right here. But in this area right here, you can say, okay, well, I'm only going to get in on a 30 range, flip, and if you don't get it, you could see maybe price action come right through, and you saved yourself, you know, from a stop loss. On a tight stop loss like that, perfectly fine to implement. On our typical stop, which is going to be around 25 to 35 points, you know, depending on how big the leg is, you know, you're to maybe not get a flip would be a little bit rare, but at the same time, if the market just rips, you avoid that rip. You know, you avoid that rip for that, you know, that sweep possibility that is always obviously there in the market. So you could always use that for at least some secondary piece of entry confirmation, which I don't think is a terrible idea. And I have actually thought about that. Okay, so I've kind of already accepted the fact here that I do have a very, very tight stop here. So this is going to be strictly a really nice risk to reward type of play. That is if we get into this trade. Still, so far, still valid. We have not broken our structure here to the bottom side. But we have been consolidating here pretty heavily within about a 35-40 point range. ES is kind of in no man's land. It's just been bouncing off this key level I gave my members here at 7150. It's bounced here, oh, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 times here. And as I mentioned, a good amount of Good amount of volume sitting right here at this little cluster here on the ES at the 71.25 to the 71.22. And then we do have this bigger unbalanced volume area here controlled by buyers at the 71.07 to the 70.90. And we did hit our 15-minute initial balance. Now, for the initial balance to play out, initial balance is pretty much sitting right where, very close to our stop loss area right here. So I'm not necessarily sure I'll be able to take this 15-minute initial balance. I would hope we just get an entry and we attack the AIB low. We'll see what the market wants to do here. Again, we're risking about 15 points here on this trade if we get into it. All right, so we're in. Again, we are risking 15 points here. Break of structure right here. We do have value area high sitting right here at the 26,877. And we're just targeting the value area low, which is at the 26,836, which is where my TP is currently set at. All right, let's see if we can get a smaller push here, about 24 points in profit there. One more little push down and we should be at TP. Nothing for me to do with my stop loss here. All right, came to about a tick there from, there we go. Nice morning trade here. Very little risk, guys. 15 points to make 32.5 points. I would say that's a really nice risk to reward. And now we'll see if the break of structure down here, which they've got a good amount of liquidity sitting right here, so they could target this break of structure here too, which would give you almost another 23 points. And then we'll see here if we break through on the 15-minute initial balance setup here. Again, on my 15-minute initial balance trade, my max risk is that 8 to 10 point range, and I'm targeting 30 points on this trade if we can break through at the 26,813. All right, so we'll see if we close here as a down bar. We do not. Nice flip right there, though. As you guys can see, you guys got a really nice flip here on the 30 range right here. We got a green up footprint with a lot of negative delta. So that is a reversal pattern back to the upside there, which is exactly what you guys ended up getting. I just told my Signal members in our live trading room that, you know, in hindsight, I probably should have just waited for the break of structure down here. I would have been able to capture another 23 points out of that trade. Not getting greedy, but... and this was a classic scenario. If this was not the first setup of the morning, this is exactly how I teach you guys how to trade this AVT strategy. So this is, we didn't have any examples of this yesterday, but we got an example of it here. So this would be entry 1 at the point of control, okay? Entry 2 could have been at the value area high right here. So you would have been into 2 positions here, 2 contracts. And then at that point, then you can take one off at the value area low and then one off at the break of structure. Or you could have just kept one entry here at the point of control and targeted this break of structure below. But as this is the morning, the first morning move right off of the market open, those do tend to be a little bit more squirrely. So, you know, your highest probability setup is the point of control, or this entry right here, and then taking your TP where I did there as well. But both of those would have been hit. So you're just looking for liquidity. I mean, the liquidity sitting right here is pretty obvious to see. But at the same time, there was liquidity sitting up here. There was liquidity sitting up here with the initial balance high. Now remember, for us to get another setup, you know, this here does not get validated as a setup because we only had 2 down 120 range bars. My setup requires a minimum of 3. Sweet spot is 3 to 5 down or up bars consecutive. And if you get patterns like this, This is even much better. This is a stronger impulsive move. We just didn't finish it out. Take a look at the ES. So again, the ES has just been sitting around this key level that I gave my members this morning at the 7150. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 taps into it. And the market does have some volume sitting right here at the 7125 to the 22 that I definitely might want to tap into. And then as far as gold's just kind of been sitting in the middle of these pretty big areas here that I'd be looking for some setups. Not much to do on gold right now. And again, if the market wants to, chop, it's no problem. If it wants to chop, that's fine, because none of this provides us with any type of setup here right now. That's the beauty of the strategy, is that it's giving you a minimum of 70 points to 110, 120 points on the NQ of movement in one direction or the other for a mini trend to establish. So it avoids a lot of this, 30 up, 30 down, 45 up, 60 up. It avoids those trades and really looks for the mini trend in the market. And some things that I went over yesterday during, if you want to replay yesterday's live stream, you'll probably learn this the strategy pretty well. So what I mean by the impulsive move to the upside, what I'd like to see is, I don't like to see the next 120 range bar come too far, dip too far down into the previous up bar. Okay, that's not really a big sign of strength. So like here we came to a little bit above the 50% mark, which is okay, it's not terrible. But you could see this one came down to almost the 75% mark to the downside, so it only had about a quarter left here. So this is not impulsive already, so this is already showing me indecisiveness here in the markets. So even, this can close green here. This already is not that great of a pattern here, not that great of a structure here, versus, like what we have in our entry, our first entry here, first setup, lower 25% of the previous bar, lower 25% of the previous bar. This to me is a good sign of strength right there. Okay, nice little mini trend. And again, it's in that sweet spot of the 3 down. Those seem to work out really nice. They're very prop friendly, because typically, your stop loss is not going to be not that huge. All right, so we're at the top of the hour. We got 30 minutes for our initial balance to be set. Again, just looking at context here, the initial balance high here kind of has a roadblock right about 9 points, or maybe about 8 points, 9 points above it. So again, this is kind of a tough one here to, because my trade here is 30 points. And that, I'm probably going to meet some resistance right here at the 26,901. Or we could just blast right through it. There's obviously always that possibility. But there's a higher possibility that we tap in and we either consolidate here for a couple seconds or a couple minutes, and then we make our decision here. So not the highest probability play here on the IB high today. Of course, I say that, and it's might be the day that it works out perfectly. I do like that pattern that it just gave you there. See, I like this. I like this movement here. You see how we close right at the top of this bar right here? That's actually a perfect entry for the IB. Because if this can close green, which it didn't, so that was perfect non-trade right there. But if this was to have closed green, okay, then all we have to do is we put our stop right smack here. And again, this gave you another flip right here. You guys can see red footprint. 139 positive delta. It's a great reversal pattern right there as well. All right, so now I can set this one for the hourly range, which is the bread and butter of our initial balance strategy. Okay, so we did get finally a nice little impulsive move here, closing above here. This little middle part here is not the greatest, but I do like this impulsive move here to the upside. So let's see what else the market wants to do. Look at the ES. So the ES finally broke through on the 7150. Gold's kind of still sitting right there. This has been a This has definitely been the strong level here, so let's just kind of see. What, if anything, let's just take a peek at this one to see what this looks like here. It pretty much just tapped right into our entry right there. Shoot. That one just really just tapped right into our entry right there. I don't know, I was kind of fascinated with the ES there for a second. I'd like to see if I can get a few points off of this 7150. It's been pretty reliable so far. Yeah, I think I missed an opportunity there on the... I did. That was a 30-point opportunity right there. So again, this is where entry would have been. Got a little late on that one. First TP, second TP. I don't know why I was so fascinated here with the ES. Should have just stayed on the NQ. And either way, didn't really get any entry on that either. So that would have taken TP1 and TP2 there, and it right at the entry too. I mean, to the tick. That would have been 0 drawdown on that trade right there. Kind of stinks. All right, I got 21 minutes for initial balance to be set. Again, on this setup, my only concern here was that, you know, we didn't really have the greatest movement here in this middle, but I did like the impulsive move here, so this would have been a setup that I would have, I definitely would have entertained. And again, pretty simple. 1, 2, 3, 4 up 120 range bars to establish a trend, break of structure. We wait for our retracement candle right here. Once we get this candle closure, we put our fixed volume profile tool, and our entries are all built right in. Our entries are TPs and our stop. Entry right here at the value area low. Stop loss at the break of structure. If it breaks here, we're wrong on the trade. And then your TP1 is at the point of control. TP2 is at the value area high or break of structure, which is pretty much both the same. So kind of missed out on that trade there. And I was really trying to see if I can get any type of entry here on the ES, but it just was not presented with any. It was not presented with any entry model here. That's okay. We'll keep looking. Morning's young. Hey P, hey Rob, I was listening to your stream from yesterday and someone asked about your delta bar at the bottom. So I'm assuming you guys are talking about this delta bar sitting right here. And someone asked about your delta bar on the bottom. I actually made one a while ago and can share for free on the group. AP, I would say if you can send it through me through Discord, I can put it into our indicators on my website. Those are all free downloads on my site. And I've been asked many times if you guys need the settings for the footprint chart that I use. The data type series, the type you've got to put volumetric. Okay, you need to have the order flow add-on, or if you're on Trade of 8 prop, you should have access to this. So the type's got to be set to volumetric. That's what gives you the footprint. Then the base period is range, and then you just set the whatever range it is that you're looking for. So I trade on the 30, the 60, and the 120. So I have 3 charts. I've got a shit ton of charts, but I've got 3 charts set with those: the 30, the 60, and the 120. Days to load, you really only need 1. I don't even know why I have it set at 3. The more you have days to load, the more resources you're going to use. You get away with 1. It's no big deal. And then everything else is default. The only thing that I have is center open close bar. I have it checked on. Show as profile, I have it checked on. I don't show volume on the NQ. I show volume on the ES because it's a little bit easier to see. On the NQ, unless you blow it up really big, it's not that great. I have show imbalance. So my imbalance ratio is set at 3. And then really the only other thing, everything else is default. The only thing that I have is show bar statistics. I have that checked off, and then I've got delta bar checked on. And that's it. Everything else is default. And if anybody wants this on Discord, if you want to just DM me, I could send you a screenshot of my ES and my NQ settings for the footprint charts. And for those of you using TradingView, you know, it's, well, I don't really apologize because it's not my platform, but you cannot get range bar footprints on TradingView. You can get range bars. You can get footprint charts, but they're all minute based. They're all time based. So your time based charts are not going to look anything like my footprint charts, because mine are not time based at all. They have to travel in a range of 120 ticks or 30 points in the example of 120 range bar. So it looks like we're going to be continuing up here on this little mini trend now here to the upside. Finally, we're able to break out of this consolidation area. Let's see, hopefully it doesn't get too overextended. Now, if this one here closes as a red bar, this is not a setup that I'm going to be looking at. I'd want to see this at least close up here as a green bar, showing really some good strength here. And we got about 14 minutes left for initial balance to be set. And again, gold is really just kind of sitting in the middle. There's not much yet to do in gold. All right, so level 2's telling us I keep bouncing around, so it's not really very definitive, but 26,950 seems like an interesting spot. There seems to be orders floating around from the 60s to the 50s. And then this one's been sitting here for a while at the 26,970. And then the ES, not much has really changed here on the ES, the 7165. We already ate through the liquidity that was sitting at the 60s. And we got the 64, 65, so this area right here is seems like it's being well defended here. Again, not a whole lot of volume. Actually, the ES and the NQ both look a little bit on the light side here this morning. And another thing that you guys can put into action as well is if you are going in with multiple position sizing, let's say you're on micros, or let's say you're on E-minis and you've got 2 E-minis or 2 or 4 micros. You know, if you're the type of trader that loves to leave runners on, you know, on this particular setup right here, you know, your train of thought could be very simple. So your entry is here. You can take either position off here, you can take a position off here. If you want to keep a runner, the simplest thing to do is to, if we know that the trend is going to continue, I shouldn't say if we know, but if the trend is to continue to the upside, well, what are we looking for? We already know what we're looking for the next leg to establish, which is, again, 3 up bars, 3 to 5 up bars. So if you get another 3 up bars past your last TP, it's a great place to take profit. Great place to take profit. If you want to wait for that next red bar retracement, that's also good. But remember that that's going to knock 30 points off of your final target. So if you want to be somewhat conservative, but yet still grab an extra 50 points, 60 points off of the move, 70 points off the move, you could just wait for those 3 up bars to finish out and just close your position at the 3rd up bar, which we already know is what in our strategy establishes our next kind of our next leg here. We've got 8 minutes here for initial balance to finish out. See if we get this as a down 120 range bar here, which would set up our strategy. Then we could kind of take an early peek to see what this would look like. This is not... Alright, I like it. Let's see, hopefully we get a down bar here. If we get another green up bar, we're already getting to like 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We would get to 6 bars, so we're starting to get a little overextended. RMQ doesn't really have much to the upside. ES has got this level at the 71.83 that it can possibly want to come after. I'm a little surprised that we didn't dip into the 25s. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up 30 bars. So if we take a look at the range of this move, it's going to probably be over 100. It's 131 points. So now we're starting to get a little overextended here. Anything above 5 up bars, you know, the setup probability starts to get worser and worser for us because we are on an overextended move. Now, if we set up the fixed volume profile tool, and again we get a fantastic risk to reward, you know, that helps out the math. So Todd asked, do the footprint bars get in the odd, even style patterns too? You might need to expand on that question, Todd. I'm not following that one. Do the footprint bars get in the odd, even style patterns too? Maybe if you can just elaborate a little bit more on that question for me. I don't care about the odd or even. I mean, as long as it's 3 up to 5 up, or 3 down to 5 down. So that could be 4 up. It doesn't have to be odd or even. That has nothing to do with it. It's just the reason that rule is in there for the setup is to, and again, this comes down to price action theories that this strategy incorporates, is that we also don't want to get ourselves involved in a super extending move. Okay, we don't want to be overextended on our move as either, because we know that the likelihood of the overextended moves, if you look at it, you know, granted, if you're in a pure trend day to the upside, which currently we have been in an uptrend since for the last about 40 minutes. If, you know, typically on those days, you know, when you get a move of 130, 160 points, you're going to start taking out liquidity. You know, you're going to have a scenario sometimes where buyers start getting tired and they start to kind of falter. So again, if the risk to reward on these overextended moves, you know, if we get here another green candle, you know, this is already extended. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we get another green candle here, it would be 7. This would be a setup I would not entertain. I'd just wait to see what the next mini trend could be, because we then can get 3 down, 3 down bars, and then the trend can then come down to the downside. Or if we put the fixed volume profile tool and we incorporate this move, you know, if we've got great targets down here and we've got, you know, great, where it just makes mathematical sense to take that trade, great. But again, the more the move, extended move to the upside, the less the probability starts to dip on the strategy. Oh shit, and we just hit initial balance. I wasn't even, fuck. I think we just dipped into initial balance right here. We did. Alright, well, no real setup there. So that's not a loss for us because there was no setup there, but I also was not paying attention. I didn't really see here. That was a strong move, but again, we're not really... Not really seeing anything on the initial balance here. So we finally completed this structure here. So now we can take out our tool from here to here and kind of see what this trade would look like. So our first position would be at the 26,897. You can then have a secondary position if you would so choose, so inclined to do so, with your stop sitting here at the 26,852. And then your targets would be your value area high sitting right here at the 26,973. And then your bigger target would be at the 26,996. And again, if I had to rate this trade, I would say this is probably closer to a B minus setup right now. But it has a really nice risk to reward profile as well, so. The only thing that would cancel this setup here is if we get another break of structure to the upside, then we cancel this leg out and we continue to look for the mini trend continuing to the upside. Actually, it does look like we got the flip on the initial balance on the 120. I didn't really see anything on the 30 or 60, but this is the first sign of weakness here from buyers. So you can see that the sellers closed this footprint down, but we still had a lot of positive delta here. So buyers were trying to push this market up, and the sellers still overtook them. So that to me is a reversal pattern now back to them to the downside. Morning sold trades. Now we missed 27,000 by about 3 3.75 points, almost 4 points there. We missed the 27,000 number. Grant, good morning. Don't forget to type in the keyword today, which is trend, for the 5% cash profit Wednesday giveaway, which is going to be at 10:45. Winner needs to be here. I'll set a timer for 2 minutes. once the name is called, and then you just type in thanks into the chat, and I'll get you your cash. If I'm in the green at 10:45. Kind of stuck in this gold setup down here. I'll put these numbers up here so you guys can see them. The 47.41 to the 47.33. Can't trade this on Ninja right now because I've got all my funded accounts. All my groups have Apex mixed into them, so I can't trade golds with Apex currently. So I take these gold trades on my Top Step X account, my funded accounts. But I'll be waiting for this one. And again, I'll just move over to the footprint chart there, wait for a flip like this right here, but in that key area down here. We'll see if we can get a possible trade there or not. It does look like we are getting a flip again at the initial balance at the 60 range. On the 60 range, we did. That could have been a nice little trade there. Let's see. Now we got this magnet up here for the 27,000. You can see sellers are trying to keep this market down. So right now, sellers are showing, buyers are showing more strength, but sellers are piling in here a little bit more. Just take a quick peek at gold. Nothing there for me to do. Nothing there. All right, so this cancels out this leg, right? Because we've already broken structure up here. So now we have to establish a new leg to the upside or down, whatever it wants to do. So we finally came into the 27,000s. A lot of volume picked up right there. So hopefully everybody understands this one here, on this leg here. See if I can put this in context here for you guys. So we had a very strong trend to the upside here. We had 6 bars, which is again is a little bit overextended. Our entries would have been at the point of control and the value area low, with a stop sitting at the break of structure down below, and then your first target would be the value area high and break of structure to the upside. We obviously did not come down to this area, and we broke structure up here. So this leg now, in my eyes, is canceled out, and now we just got to look for the next setup. Kind of do like a short here. I'm going to take a short here and risk these 15 points here. Let's see if hopefully I can go to break even pretty quickly. Just because we're sitting right at the initial balance here. But we got flips on the 60. We got flips on the 120. Oh, actually, maybe the 120 didn't close out yet. But let's just see if we can get a quick 15 pointer here or not. I'd like to see if I can go to break even as quickly as possible. All right, I'm going to go to break even there. See if we can get this little continuation push here to the downside. Eight points, 7 points. Super tight on the risk here. I'm actually 1 point in profit just to kind of make up for commissions there. Let's see if we can get a continued push here or not. Doesn't look like we're going to. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, buddy. Come on. Just finish it out. 5 more points. 5 more points. Let's go. Came right to the tick. Ah, nice. Nice TP there. 15 points. So we got the flip. I saw the flip on the 60. Where'd it go? Nope. That's the wrong 60. That's right here. So I got in on this flip right here. Again, it was off of a key level at the 27,000. And we had 274 positive delta. Nice flip here on the 60 range. Again, very, very simple concept to understand. If you've got a key level or you've got an area of support resistance, however it is that you want to trade, here you got positive 274 delta. Okay, so that means that buyers were loading up in this footprint in this 30, or I should say this 15-point bracket here of this candle, but we still closed to the downside. All right, and that is my continuation play to the downside there. So, and my risk was managed 15 points, so 1-to-1, and then I quickly went to break even plus 1 point and still was able to get that 15 points. So nice little trade there. Let's make this a little bit easier to see. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to load up on some more coffee, and I'll be right back. All right, I am back. And looks like we are currently ranging. Let's see what the ES is up to. Not much. Gold, not much. All right. Get rid of this initial balance here. We don't need that guy anymore. All right, let's see what we got. Rob, how many MNQs? So my starter position is one contract, and I leave myself room for, like in this setup right here, where I can then go into 2 contracts. And it's primarily, I typically have traded 3 to 4 micros on my funded accounts. But as the point value has gone up on these trades, like this one here is, let's see, well, I guess let's just cover risk. Risk is 47 points here. That's a little bit more than my typical, so I just position size accordingly based on the setups here. So on my AVT setups, I always my starter position is 1. And then I'll add a secondary, like on this setup, this would have been an area where I would have added another contract at. I think we might have had one more. Oh yeah, and then this setup, the first setup here of the morning that we took a TP on. This would have been a great scenario if it wasn't the opening bell move. This is point of control, this would be entry 1. Value area high would be entry 2. So then I would be into two contracts at in that point. And that's, granted, this was a very tight stop loss, so you could have probably entered in here with 2. No big deal. But I already have it set. My rule is on the first leg of the market open, I will simply start with my lowest position size and always target the most realistic first target that I can find, which in this case was the value area low. And for reference, all of my PAs for this morning are up $92. My Lucid funded accounts are up $93. And both of my cash accounts are up $92.40. Tiger Trades, I need to send you some pictures from deep charts. I would be very interested in seeing some of that. They have some juicy stats that seem to tell you if the candle is a good flip. Yeah, absolutely. Send them over, man. And then active investment. If you're still here, Rob, quick question. Why didn't you take Rob Reversal? Rob Reversal's strategy is running upstairs. So I haven't taken a look to see what the results were here today. But those are running. Looks good. 40 range candle at the high had good values for a short. Let's take a look at her. Yeah, in the 40 range, the 26,992 looked like a good short spot. But then again, that was, you said that quite a while ago, so at that point maybe it was the 26,972 area. It was a good short opportunity. Solo trades. Do you pay extra for volume profile and footprints? So on NinjaTrader, if you're trading on NinjaTrader, there is an add-on which is for order flow. There is an add-on that will get you all of the, order flow volume profile, the footprint charts, VWAP, and like the big trades are on there. Really, the only thing that I use on that is the volume profile and the footprint charts. If you have the lifetime license for NinjaTrader, which is what I have, those are all included in there for free, or with your initial investment. And or if you use a prop firm that has Tradeovate Prop, I believe that those features are also included in there. I can't 100% verify that unless somebody from the chat wants to chime in, which I think they have, saying that it is correct. I already have it enabled on my NinjaTrader, so I can't tell you exactly if the prop would, has it, but that's what I've been told. I think I'm caught up on all the questions there. Dang it. 26. I'll be right back, guys. All right, do see a scalping opportunity here at the 26,898 and a quarter, targeting the 26,909 and the 917 with the stop at the 26,890. So that one will be set. As far as what we're looking at as well, we have just kind of entered into a whole range of chop here, which again, this strategy will kind of keep you out of. 1, 2, nothing here. 1, 2, nothing here. 1, 2, nothing here. So all of this kind of gets avoided for us. All right, so Tiger's saying that if you have Trade of 8 prop with Apex, for example, you won't have footprint or delta on NinjaTrader as the DX feed is not carried over on level 2. Okay. That's different than what I've heard from other people, but it's good to know. I tried Apex with Rhythmic. The setup is so annoying having to log into our trader. Yeah, I agree with that, 100%. Sure, I was on Trade of 8. Makes a difference if you trade minis. Need to run Rhythm at all. You usually use Trading View. Okay. Let's take a look at the ES. ES is coming right back down to test this 7150 level again. Gold is just kind of stagnant. Get rid of this key level here because we already know that that one's sitting right above entry. We were not too confused. Well, my son just texted me up another 200 today. Made 200 yesterday. He's on his way to another payout for this week. It's nice out today. And he's also asking me if I could take him golfing after school today. There's something called Work Buddy. Nice little move here to the upside. So a few updates on the in the prop space. Apex is 90% off sale, ended I believe yesterday at midnight. So they're back down to 50% right now. I'm sure something else will come up pretty soon. Lucid continues at their 40% off, and Tradeify is at 40% off. So again, the nice thing about the strategy that I'll point out once more for the ABT strategy is, you know, all of this chop here, it really helps you avoid all of this kind of nonsense that's been kind of going on here at the 27,000 area. I had to re-look just to make sure that my gold chart wasn't frozen, but it's just it's pretty well correlated right now with the NQ, which I don't really like so much. I got a question from a viewer member on my strategy with on kind of how I trade my funded prop accounts, which is pretty similar to how I trade my cash accounts. I have currently 23, 25. I have 25 funded accounts. Majority of those are Apex PAs that I have had since December, I think it was. And I've got three Lucid funded accounts and 2 funded Tradeify accounts. And then I obviously also trade with 2 cash accounts. So 2 cash accounts both attached to NinjaTrader. So how I do is I break them up into 3 segments. So I got 3 groups trading. So on every day I trade an average of 8 to 9 funded accounts, and that's also including my cash accounts as well. And the reasons that I stagger my accounts is that, you know, if you've got a bad day of trading, let's just say that you broke some rules and you had maybe some revenge trading or just a bad day. Let's say you just had a bad day in the markets and each one of your accounts are down $200, $300. That loss in the day is concentrated into just one of your groups, not all 25 or 27 in my case. So it staggers your losing days. It also obviously staggers your winning days. So if you have a really nice winning day, you're only taking the winning day on those 9 accounts. But there's a lot of flexibility that you can do with that system of staggering accounts. And some of the benefits that I see is, one, it's really good capital preservation. It's really good for if you've got some bad trading habits. you know, I would definitely consider implementing that type of rule. If you take a winning trade, let's say that you've got 9 accounts that are all up 150, 200 bucks, whatever your winning trade is. At that point, you could just leave that group alone, switch over to the next group, and you're guaranteeing yourself profits in one of your groups. And then if you take another secondary trade and you make a win, great. Now your secondary group also has the win. But if the secondary group takes a loss, it doesn't affect the win that you had previously. So if you're that type of trader that's hesitant about taking that second and third trade because you don't want to give up profits, it's a very good tool for your psychology of trading. And you don't have to be at 27 accounts. You could be at 5 funded accounts, 3 funded accounts. You could do that group on, as you know, obviously you can't do it with one funded account, then you're trading that every single day. But once you get up to a multiple, you start scaling on your funded accounts, you can implement that. Now, so those are some of the really nice benefits of it. Now, some of the, I would say, slight drawbacks of it is that it's a slower process to payouts. And my initial, when I started this back in January, I gave myself a 90 to 120 day window to get into consistent payout windows. And the beauty of the staggered group strategy is that, let's say you've got one group that finally gets into profit. Okay, not all of them might be in profit. They might, you know, because not all exact accounts are going to be at the exact same balance. But let's just, for example's sake, say that you've got 8 accounts that have all now hit your profit goal, and you take out whatever, $500, $1,000 off of each account. You take a nice paycheck from that staggered group, and then you can either not trade those accounts based on the rules of the prop firm, which might mean that you've got some type of, you know, cooldown period, or not cooldown period, but a period for them to process your payment, and you don't want to take trades during that day. No problem. You've got 2 other groups. You've got one other group that you can then lead on and trade. And the nice thing is that as that one group then gets a balance subtracted from it from your payout. So let's say you took $1,000. Now all of those balances are down $1,000. It's no big deal, because now your second group and your third group, depending on how well those groups have done, you know, then they get very close to a payout as well. And then you can start getting into a cycle where, you know, every 2 weeks, you have at least one group that is at a payout amount or close to it. I have gone through the path of, I mean, you guys can see my accounts today shows session P&L 1021, which looks fancy, but it's really not. It's very simple and very basic. My accounts, on average, all of them are up $92. So I've got, on PAs, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 PAs today trading at in this group, all up $92.92. I've got 2 Lucids trading today. Those are up $93 exactly. And then my cash account that's attached to this group is up $92.40 for the day. So it's very small increments. So you're going to need, you know, you take your winning days, your losing days, you know, this type of strategy with very small position sizing, which is in the micro range of 1 to 3 micros, is which I've been doing since January. It's a slow process, but you're never at risk. I have not had to purchase not one funded account. I have not had to purchase another eval account. I've been trading with all of these same funded accounts since end of December. So, you know, it's not the game of, and I could play that game. Don't get me wrong. I could play that game very easily of, you know, taking out 5 accounts, get funded 5 accounts, and taking max position size or taking 1 E-mini on them, and kind of, you know, risking the rolling the dice. But it just takes one bad day, and it takes one bad day and you're into some serious drawdown. And for some reason, what I've always noticed, and you guys agree or disagree, I always feel like that day that you take that big leap, or you make that gamble of, you know, saying, fuck it, I'm just going to trade an E-mini today instead of the micros. It seems to be always that day that you take that big loss. And now your accounts are staring a negative $1,000 balance to start off with. And now you're in a hole. And then what do? You usually then you switch over to micros. And then it's going to take you a month to get out of that $1,000 hole from the get-go. That's the trap that I see traders do. It's a trap that, you know, I just think is out there. And I think it's the psychology part of it, because typically on the evals, we're trading with an E-mini to get those evals passed as quickly as possible. And you say, well, shit, if I made $3,000 on the eval, I could do the same thing on the funded accounts. And yeah, you could get lucky. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if you pass 28 Apex accounts and you want to switch and you want to make 4 groups of 5 accounts and kind of risk the dice on those 5 accounts with the E-minis on one day, maybe you blow an account, maybe you blow that group. The next day you take the high risk trades, maybe you hit it well. Then you've got consistency rules to follow, which again, a lot of people don't pay attention to, but you've got the consistency rule then that, you know, then you're going to need to hit 3 or 4 more days of those big payouts to average out the consistency score. So it's the slow and steady system is not fancy. It doesn't it's not sexy by any means. And yeah, I mean, there's been times in like February, March where I'm like, man, this is just taking forever. The slow equity curve to the upside, but it's just super slow. You know, you just start thinking to yourself, well, shit, maybe if I would have gambled on 40 PA's account, 40 funded accounts during that same period, maybe I would have been able to take $20,000-$30,000 in payouts already and kind of play that prop firm game. But the trap that you can fall into by doing that is that then spills over to your trading in general. So, you know, it's hard to, I mean, I still remember, I've talked about this on stream many times, but I still remember the day. I think it was the day before Thanksgiving. So it was the day before Thanksgiving, and I had a green day on all of my funded accounts, and it was towards the end of the stream. The market really wasn't doing much. I had purchased, I think it was 10 Apex evaluations, and I think at that time I was really just trading cash and I think it was cash, Tradeify, and I think it might have been funding ticks at that point. I can't remember exactly, but anyways, I then just, you know, for entertainment purposes, really, I'm like, all right, let's see if we can pass these 10 funded accounts. Didn't go off of any of my strategies. Didn't, you know, just traded like a complete asshole, to be honest with you. And honestly, I think it was more for the entertainment purposes of the stream. But I ended up blowing those 10 evals. And, you know, at that time, my session P&L, which you guys see on the top left-hand side of your chart of your screen, I think it showed like negative $20,000 or something like that. And I just looked at that and I got this like worse pain in my stomach after that session, because all I could think about was that trade, was how stupid that trade was. I didn't think about how well I had traded earlier that day, or how well I traded in, you know, November. It was just concentrating on that. And then you can see how those bad habits from the evals can spill over to your trading in general. And then I said, never again will I do that. And to be honest with you, how I passed the next 20 funded accounts with Apex, which are the same ones that I have today, were all off of my initial balance trade. It was a very simple trade. Yes, was there a little bit of luck involved? Yeah, because my stop was only like 10 points. I think my stop was like 11 points, which is what the max that I could take as a loss to pass those accounts. And then the take profit was 16 points. And on the initial balance trade, that's cutting it a little close, you know. I like to have like a 15-point buffer on my stop. But I ran 10 of them through the first day on the initial balance. Just set a limit order on the initial balance. I think it was initial balance high, if I can even remember that correctly. Market tapped into it, hit my 16 points in a matter of seconds. All 10 were funded. Beautiful. Paid for them, paid for the activation that night. Next day, I took the other 10 and did the exact same thing. And I think it was exactly the initial balance high. Passed those 10 accounts. And that's what gave me the 20 PAs that I have today. And so, you know, you can get aggressive in the evaluation stage. And, you know, I'm not telling you anything that you guys don't know. You know, there's a lot of probably much better teaching out there than what I'm giving you guys right now. I'm just giving you my real life examples of my journey through this whole thing has been. But I am a big fan of the staggered accounts. I think that that's something, and I forgot to mention that I have 3 Top Step XFAs, I guess you call them, or they're funded accounts. So I forgot to include that in my list from before, and that's usually an afterthought of mine. My Top Step X account, I will take the gold trades on there because they allow me to trade gold now. So those are easy for me to do. And since I can't really trade them on Ninja, it's great, but I just wish that I could trade my Top Step X on Ninja. That's why I really do love Lucid. I've been talking about them a lot recently, and I do think that they offer a great solution to the Top Step X. I think what they're kind of missing with their platform. So Solo Trades is saying that he can't have an email for more than 2 days. I think it is fascinating how easy it is to blow up 2 or 5K drawdown and how difficult it is to make those. Yeah, well, to be honest with you, the consistency rule is the consistency rule, guys, is really where they get you. Okay, I mean, let's just be real about it. There's no consistency rule to the downside, maybe minus a few daily loss limits that might be in place, depending on the firm that you're trading. So unless you're a disciplined trader and you've set yourself up with a daily loss limit, you know, the way down is pretty unlimited. The way up is a little bit more capped, obviously. So already off the bat, you're at a disadvantage. And I will admit, the big benefit to Top Step and to Lucid is that once you're in that funded stage, there really is no consistency anymore. Yes, you need to hit 5 days of $150 profit. It's fucking easy. I mean, that's easy. You could trade with 3 micros and you're going to make those days. And if you take losing days, who cares? You lose $150, but you should have no problem in hitting those 5 days. And once you pass that minimum requirement of the 5 days in profit, dude, the sky's the limit. Take the trades, go up maybe a 1 position size or take some bigger targets. There's really no cap to what you can make. Obviously, there's a cap to your payouts, and there's, they've got 50% rules on what you can take, but it's the easiest. I think it's the cleanest and easiest way to trade prop. If I could do this all over again, the Apex is phenomenal for scaling. There's nobody like it, but in true form, I think Lucid for me is the best because I could still trade it through NinjaTrader, which is the platform that I use for my charting. There's no good reason that you could give me to not take a trade on NinjaTrader and then have to log into another platform that doesn't have any of the features that I trade with. You know, yeah, it's got the fixed volume profile, but it doesn't have any of the features that I really like to trade with. So to me, Lucid makes the most sense. Now, if Lucid came out and said I can have 10 accounts, shit, that would be an absolute game changer, because now you can do the scaling with that firm that you truly like. But I guess I would say I would be pressed to, I guess I'd like to hear the other side of the conversation, what the drawdowns of Lucid really are. You know, obviously minusing the scalability portion of the accounts. I mean, you still can have 5, which is great. There's really not many downsides to it, you know. I mean, the cost barrier is not that high. What are you paying at 40% off? I think you're at about $98. There's no activation fee, and then you got to hit those bare minimums on the days, and then after that you're kind of free. I feel more freer on them than I do with anything else. I don't feel like I'm like constrained to not make $1,000 on one account, or to make $600 on one account if I want to. I don't have any of those constraints there. I think people have to kind of like think about that and realize that, you know, what prop makes the most sense and what do you want to get out of it. Everybody's got the allure of 20 accounts at $1,000, you make 20 grand, and that is the huge selling point of Apex. But you've got to follow all of their rules to a T. And there's rules there in place to protect the firm, you know, and to keep them as a viable business. And I get it. And I totally agree with what they have to do. All right, we got 15 minutes for our giveaway here. And again, I know I've said this a few times, but as you guys can see, all of this price action right here, which has got a range of probably about 100 points, maybe 90 points here, from here to here. None of this we need to trade, right? And that's the nice thing about the rules on the setup. It kind of helps you avoid this. And yes, I know I did some, you know, I would say the trade that I kind of regret missing was this guy right here. This was perfect right to the tick. 0 drawdown right here. Straight to TP. That would have been a nice 33-point winner right there. So that one I kind of stung a little bit, but so far pretty happy with the trades that I've been able to execute on. Gold is just not doing anything. I mean, thought we were going to get that for sure. We were going to test this unbalanced volume area here. Pretty wacky. Alright guys, I'll be right back. I'm just gonna use the washroom real fast. All right, guys, about 7 more minutes here for our Cash Profit Wednesday to find its lucky winner. Just type in the keyword trend into the chat. And as I say that, I can probably work on getting this loaded up. And then let's get the timer. And guys, if you haven't yet, if you guys can hit the like button, I would super appreciate it. I know I don't say that probably enough, but it does help the channel a little bit. Nothing's happening on the NQ, so I'm just kind of looking at the looking at gold right here to see what kind of reaction we might get at this unbalanced volume area here. Thanks, J-Loves. I have a feeling gold's gonna dip right into this right at the 1045 number. That's my bet. right, so you got about a minute left for minute and a half left here to type in the word trend into the chat. Looks like we got $51 up for grabs here today. And all you got to do is within that 2-minute mark, just type in the word thanks into the chat. I will give you an email address that you can email to, and I will get you over your $51 winning. Wish I could have made a little more today, but $1,000 is a good day. I think we left about 600, maybe $700 on the table on that one setup that we did miss there, but can't get them all. All right, mark my words that this gold's gonna tap into this band once we do our giveaway here. All right, let me get everything loaded here. One winner. Spinning. Keyword is trend today. Exclude duplicates. Confirm. All right, we're in. Remember, there'll be a 2-minute timer that gets started here once the winner is picked. Here we go. All right, Bob B, 2626. You've got 2 minutes starting right now to type in the word thanks into the chat, and I'll get you over your $51. Again, Bob B, you've got less than 2 minutes to type into the chat. There you go. Bob B is in. Perfect. Congratulations, bud. I'm winning $51 here today. So Bob B, send me an email. Bob B, don't go anywhere. All right, Bob B, I just gave you my email address in there. Just send me an email and I will get you over that $51. Hopefully it pays for an evaluation, pays for lunch, maybe a halfway decent dinner. But thanks for everybody for supporting the channel, and hopefully you guys are getting some value out of how I trade the markets. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. So as the market here is pretty damn stagnant, I think I'm going to call it here a day. Pretty happy with my trading here this morning. It did miss one setup there. I could have probably taken about 35, 40 points from, but you know, like I said, you can't get them all. But super happy with the trading here today, this week, this month, last couple of months. I mean, it's been going well. So hopefully you guys are getting some value out of it. If you are, just remember to hit the like button on there. If you are going to be purchasing anything from the prop firms I've got listed on my banner, you could always use code TraderRob. I do appreciate it. And with that, I will see you guys tomorrow. Happy trading, everybody, and stay patient out there.